All right, Jamie Murdoch has his hand up. Go ahead, Jamie, if you want to unmute yourself.
I have a document. Can I share my screen?
Jay, can you handle that?
Mr. Murdoch, is it the document that you distributed earlier today via email to our department?
Yes,
Why don't I bring it up on my side and then I'll give you control. How's that?
that's fine.
Give me 1 second. Actually, I can't give you control. Maybe I can I walk through it with you?
Okay, next page. So I didn't
Jamie,
get
can
a-
you just identify yourself, please?
yes, James Murdoch. I live in South Kingstown, within the Kingstown Road Special Management District. I was involved in the first comprehensive plan, 89 to 91, and in rewrites. And since I live within the district, have been especially interested in what's been going on here. Last go round, I spoke about the comprehensive plan and how it's connected to this special use permit. And but that wasn't fully represented in the denial of this plan. So I want to clarify, and I'm writing this here, please confirm the legal standing that the comp plan attains by virtue of this special use district, this permit. Because the section 907C says the granting of a special use permit will not impair the intent or purpose of this ordinance or the comprehensive plan of the town, which sounds like it elevates the comp plan's intent and purpose to the same legal standing as our zoning code. Is that correct?
Well, I'll let Amy answer, but generally zoning code is the
Yep.
law.
Thanks. Let me, this is Amy. Let me just shed some light on this. In the hierarchy of laws, the comprehensive plan is above the zoning ordinance locally. So the comprehensive plan sets forth what should be in the zoning ordinance. When the comprehensive plan is adopted or amended, the town has a certain amount of time to conform its zoning ordinance to the goals and policies in the comp plan. This is before the planning board, as it was the last go round, for advisory development plan review. That means based on the nature of the project, the planning board has to review it and provide a recommendation to the zoning board. Last time around, it was denied. We'll see what happens this time around.
Right.
Then it's before the zoning board for a public hearing on the special use permit. And when this is for the public's benefit, I know the planning board knows this, when a use is designated as permitted by special use permit, it means that it's considered by the council who enacts the zoning ordinance to be consistent with the comprehensive plan, provided that all the, the conditions are met. So it's a use that's considered permitted, but certain boxes need to be checked, right? It's not something they're not granting a variance to establish a use that's not permitted, right? A special use permit is zoning board, you need to review this proposal and make sure all the applicable standards are met. So I think the way you phrased it in this presentation, and I did review this afternoon and anticipated this question, I think you're misinterpreting the framework of how local approvals and local regulations are understood.
Well, I'm going by the words will not permit, will not impair intent or purpose of comprehensive plan. And so that being the case, for the zoning board to grant the special use permit, they need the planning board to assess intent and purpose and render an opinion, findings of fact on whether this submission complies with the intent and purpose of the comprehensive plan, right?
Yeah, I think the takeaway for the planning board is the board has certain standards for its advisory recommendation. And ultimately, the zoning board has to decide whether the project as proposed will conform to the comprehensive plan for any number of factors. So if, I guess, I'm not sure if the question is, if this board denies advisory development plan review, could the zoning board grant it and make that positive finding? Yes, it can. Two boards can disagree.
Understood. So, however, zoning, by virtue of section 907C, zoning seems to me could specify sole reasons for denial, not dimensional, not lighting, not landscaping, but material specific points that the planning board advises, because the planning board understands comp plan more than zoning. This is, the planning board's purview planning board's the steward of the comprehensive plan, and approved it, recommended it to the town council. So the planning board's expert on the comp plan, and the zoning board takes the planning board's opinion seriously, as they did last time. Last time, the zoning talked a lot about the planning board's denial, brought that right into the meeting. So today, the planning board, owner of the document, has a responsibility to assess compliance and then recommend if this complies or not, with specifics on what complies or what doesn't comply. And if the planning board does not recommend approval of the project with specific details directly connected to policies, intentions, purposes of the comprehensive plan, that the zoning board could then take that without anything else, deny the project, and that would withstand appeal.
Well, that depends, because I think your scenario assumes that they may not have expert testimony as to comp plan consistency, and I don't know what expert testimony they intend to present before the zoning board.
Sure, they could take the planning board's recommendations or points and rebut them. And I understand the zoning board would then look at these two things and decide.
Mr. Chairman, Jim Murata, Planning Director.
I'd like to interrupt because it was a false.
Joe, if you, if I just
One
can.
person at a time, please. Jamie, go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, we have 16 pages from Mr. Murdoch. I think it would be pertinent if he went through those 16 pages, made points he would like to make to the planning board, and then allow either the planning board to ask the applicant to address what they felt was necessary, and or our legal counsel or planning staff to address anything the board feels they need answered.
I had the same thought, Jamie. So Jamie Murdoch, why don't you go through your presentation? So we're not going to go line by line and discuss it. Make your presentation, and then again, the applicant or planning board members can ask questions or rebut.
Yep, I just wanted to be sure that.
Okay, we're listening, so just please continue with your.
Okay, page 3. as is, this is just pointing out that in the memo from Planning Department, your findings today, or if you postpone, include that the plans for project are consistent with the comprehensive plan. It's my opinion that a lot of information is needed by the planning board, and my point in yellow is I don't believe you have sufficient information at hand. I'm not done with this, and there's more, and for proper analysis, I request that the planning board obtain the needed data and analysis from wherever it chooses to obtain it, post it for public review and comment, and defer a recommendation on the proposal until that process is completed. That's my request of you today. Let's move on to the next page. Skip this. The key statements of the comprehensive plan about this special management district is it is in a principal artery of South Kingstown. There is a need for specialized land use planning efforts, and roads such as this quite often develop into commercial strips which exacerbate traffic problems and create visual clutter. The discussion about what a commercial strip is was a topic at the Zoning Board of Review, where I presented what Planners Commission did. I'm not a planner, so I'm just reporting. And the rebuttal was to have the engineer describe commercial strip development is a building with several stores in it, which in fact is a strip mall. That's a different animal. So the next page, please. Definition of commercial strip. In this comp plan, specifically in that section, is it's on principal arterial highway, having a need for specialized land use planning effort. It exacerbates traffic problems, creates visual clutter. Is that the case with this? My question to you as a criteria for judging this plan, does this application exacerbate traffic problems or create visual clutter? There are additional definition. The definition of commercial strip has been around for decades. Planning Commissioner's Journal also says it has attributes of box-like buildings, prominent parking lots visible from the roadway, multiple driveways, which is mentioned as a townwide goal, large signs, dependency on automobiles for access and circulation. That's another goal of the comprehensive plan. Next page. The National Highway Research Program report of 1987 described commercial strip development. In that paragraph, I'm not going to read it to you, but it also includes randomly mixed development, many conflicting vehicular turning movements, adverse impact on pedestrian convenience and safety. Those items in bold are supported by other town-wide provisions of the comp plan, and that's why they're in bold. Next page. Many comprehensive plans around the country do not define it. They just say strip commercial as if it's well known. In Vermont, the state of Vermont chose to spell out specifics of what strip development is. And from that definition, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but it includes some particulars. Point 16, limited reliance on shared highway access, lack of connection to any existing settlement, lack of connections to surrounding land uses except by highway. Both of those points are specified in the comprehensive plan and in policies of the comprehensive plan. Lack of coordination with surrounding land uses. So I've got 20 different points from industry, not my opinion. I'm just a reporter. It's for you to judge. Do these describe this application as an expansion of the existing commercial strip that the SMD is stated to be created to prevent? Next page, please. I also copied other parts of the comp plan and pasted in here. So you'll see those with green highlighting text. That's cut and paste, basically a screenshot right out of the PDF file. So promote and require high standards of development, walkable environment. The town recognizes that this rural, small town character, natural resources must be protected and enhanced. Is this building of rural small town character? This illustration is a composite that I made taking the actual drawing off the applicant's plan and pasting it onto Google Street View. So this is how it would look as if you're driving along the highway according to the site plan that was sent to us. The Dollar General sign was not on the site plan. I put that in by copying Dollar General signs from other stores in Rhode Island. So this is my attempt to depict a 3D rendering of what it would look like with this store on this road, next to the group home to the left and the car dealer on the right. Next, please. The town shall encourage quality design within its commercial development and avoid strip highway commercial development patterns characterized by suburban type shopping centers. The town shall encourage commercial development that supports active modes of transportation, such as walking, biking, and public transit. I'm going to skip forward. The town shall limit the creation of multiple unnecessary driveways and curb cuts during the development review process in order to support pedestrian activity. Next. The town supports a control of urban sprawl and dispersion by concentrating population density and infill development within villages. This is not one of the town villages. This is, in fact, the strip commercial on Kingstown Road that the comprehensive plans have consistently said need to be carefully managed to not expand and instead rehabilitate this area, which has to be done slowly as each old legacy building is replaced, have it be replaced with something that meets these goals of the comprehensive plan. That takes time. This retail building, is this urban sprawl expansion? That's my question. Policy 6.3, the town supports the existing tourist economy, and the town supports the protection of historic resources, landmarks, scenic landscapes as important component of the tourist economy. This principal arterial road between University of Rhode Island and South Kingstown is what every prospective URI student and their parents drive when they're checking out the town. It's what it has tourist traffic, it has URI traffic, it has town traffic. It is mostly residential from Peacedale Mill Complex to Route 138, except for this commercial strip that we're trying to rehabilitate through the tool of the comprehensive plan. Next, please. Here's an example, a famous example of how Freeport, Maine said to McDonald's, sure, you can build a McDonald's here, but it has to look like it's one of our buildings. So the picture on the left is a McDonald's in Brunswick, Maine, where they didn't specify, and so McDonald's built what they wanted. Here's the building on the right in Freeport, Maine, and that's what it looks like. Next page, please. Oh, wait, go back. Policy 3.4, the town shall promote the highest aesthetic standards for roadway design and visual quality along major roadways, along major roads. So that's a townwide goal, highest aesthetic standard. Next, please. Here's something I made up. There's a Dollar General, brand new one in Fayetteville, either one of those Fayettevilles. I couldn't find which one, but this came off of a Dollar General website. And they love their big signs. And it looks pretty familiar. They want visibility. Our comp plan calls for small town growth, scenic roadways to support tourism, etc. Well, here's an example of a building in Hope Valley. I changed the name to Dollar General. The yellow Dollar General sign is now a little thing over the door, so people will believe that it's actually a Dollar General. That's their brand. But I'm not saying, you know, this is my proposal for what it could look like, but that is indigenous to this area, and that would represent small town character. Next page, please. Kingstown Road Special Management District is shown in the outline, and the property is circled. The red is the strip commercial. The orange are the new MU zones that was specially created for this plan. Everything else is residential, and the residential is growing. There's the South Winds development, the Saugatucket development, which is disconnected. I mean, all around this, it's residential. So this is an example of commercial that's buried in the middle of a lot of residences. This is not out in farmland. And I'm making this point as we move forward. Next. Ensure that state and local projects appropriately consider pedestrian and bicycle safety and circulation needs. Continue to maintain scenic roadways, critical gateways within the town. Encourage design standards for infrastructure improvements regarding pedestrian and bicycle circulation for both on-site facilities and connections to adjoining neighborhoods and villages. Require new developments be designed to increase connectivity to adjoining neighborhoods and villages. Policy 1.3, the town shall facilitate pedestrian improvements throughout the community to encourage walking. Next. The town shall encourage an energy efficient pattern of development which avoids urban sprawl and scattered land development. The town endorses a land use plan having concentration of population and services in a central core area. Road network, and this is not in a central core area, so this could be arguably called urban sprawl, scattered land development. I'm not a planning professional, so I'm leaving that as a question. Define road network capabilities, limitations, establish baseline data to define the capacities, levels of service, limitations for existing road network, both on the campus and for town and state roads. This is a state road that directly connects campus to Wakefield and a lot of student housing that resides in Narragansett and points south. And there's very heavy URI traffic. And that URI traffic was not represented in the traffic study according to the Zoning Board of Review because it was collected in May after spring session was out and summer session had not come in. So a traffic study was conducted when URI was not in session. And that's that. In that case, it underrepresents the traffic that exists for most of the rest of the year, because that month of May is a unique month along with Christmas vacation where the traffic drops way down. You don't have the tourists in the summer and you don't have the students in the winter. There's nobody around. So that's the traffic study. Another thought about the traffic study is Dollar General, like they do across the country, choose from ITE code, use code 814 variety store with a trips per unit of 6.14. That might be what their business is, but this permit would allow other stores such as Convenience Market, whatever that is, code 852, which has 5 times the traffic. So whether Dollar General is a variety store or a convenience market, I can't say. They're using ITE numbers, not what their sales projections are. They must have internal sales projections that justified their construction of this thing right here. I doubt that Dollar General went to ITE to see what their business would be if they put a store here, because that same code would be used if they put this thing on Ministerial Road. So I would say to the planning board, why not use the highest code of convenience store, convenience market, whatever that is, of 34.57, 5 times the traffic of what the traffic study has. And we don't know. I could not find actual versus projected for Dollar General anywhere in the country. Nobody's studying what actually happened. But who knows? Maybe that is where they want to be with the traffic of a convenience market. Next, please. So my last page is, what would it take? You know, instead of just saying no, 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 well, I've studied the comprehensive plan extensively. It calls for connections to adjoining neighborhoods. I've updated, I totally made this drawing a lot nicer, but I can't share my screen. That's okay. But what could be done with this design? Well, the architecture of the building could certainly be made to have the scenic small town aesthetic the comp plan describes. In fact, on my computer, I've noticed that there were several towns across the country that required Dollar General to do something that they wanted. And so they're nicer looking buildings and fit. There's one in Connecticut. I forget where the other one is. There's 2 or 3 I have on my screen as examples. It's something the company will do. We just have to tell them they have to do it. Our comp plan tells them. It's not my opinion. It's not your opinion. It's written right in our comprehensive plan. The curb cut could be moved to a shared curb cut. You do that by flipping the plan for a shared driveway with the group home to the south. Almost looks like that driveway was designed that way for some reason. an added benefit of that is moving that curb cut almost twice as far from the gas station. So where it is right now, it's pretty close to South Winds and it's pretty close to the gas station traffic. So you have a second popular store here, cars going in and out, close to the gas station where people exiting the gas station are looking left as they turn right. People exiting South Winds are looking right as they turn left, and then are surprised because a car is exiting Dollar General that was looking right as they turn left and they crash. And these crashes happen. So separating busy curb cuts would be beneficial. And if the curb cut was at the southern end of this property instead of the northern end of the property, that would be a material improvement. The group home has very little traffic, so I don't think combining those two into one actually changes much, because the group home is not the issue, but moving the curb cut of Dollar General twice as far away from the gas station, that matters, because they're only separated by one property at the moment. Walking and bicycle paths. Well, as I showed you before, there's residential everywhere. And this Route 108, as we know, has no shoulders, no sidewalks, and all along Route 108, all the residential is on the other side of the road. So the added sidewalk in front of this property is meaningless, because there aren't people walking from, the car dealer or the gas station to Dollar General. Where they are coming from possibly would be Southwind. That's highly dense. There's a footpath through the woods to Peacedale Estates that could be paved. The yellow line shows sidewalk all the way up there that would connect the retirement community. And now you have 3 different communities and some residences, all which are on the other side of the road. They're connected together with sidewalk. And then you put a crosswalk with a signal, because nobody should be crossing that road. And I personally gave first aid to a pedestrian who was hit by a car in front of Howard Johnson's. That woman died on the scene, and none of us were able to resuscitate her. This is my personal experience. There's blood on one of my old jackets. Pedestrians on this road are dangerous. 2 of my children have had car accidents in front of the gas station. The hygienist I saw this morning said, "Oh, I had an accident in front of the gas station." And the traffic study doesn't talk about anything in front of the gas station. It talks about accidents at the intersection at 108 and at the intersection at Curtis Corner Road. And this congestion right here at the gas station, the distance of the curb cuts, I'm not an expert at reading the traffic study. I couldn't find it in there. But it's really important. And so the town, in the comp plan, the town says the town should be doing baseline traffic studies that include growth, the growth of additional plans, the high school that's coming in. There's other residential plans in this area. There's a lot going on, and URI is growing every year with even more traffic. So there's a lot going on with traffic, and frankly, it's more than we should expect an applicant to deal with, because these are interrelated with a lot of factors that go beyond the applicant's interest. It's a town interest. And expecting applicants to do a traffic study that really serves our interests, I don't think is appropriate. Our interests are what's the case today? How overloaded is the road today? What's the growth in this area 5, 10, 15, 20 years? What's happening with the residents around here? What are we doing with the state in terms of sidewalks that we've had on tip lists for decades and they won't do because it's expensive? So asking the applicant to do a traffic study that actually tells us what we need is not appropriate, and so I'm not suggesting that their traffic study is flawed. It's what you'd expect. The only thing that this doesn't really cover is added roadway traffic. This store probably
Mr.
is
Chairman,
a-
Mr. Chairman, if I may. This is
Yes,
Jamie
Jamie.
Rabbit, Planning Director. Not to cut, no intent to cut the testimony of this gentleman short, but he's been speaking for
I'm gonna call a break at 9:30, so.
36 minutes
all right.
now.
He's on his
and
last
a
page, Jamie,
little
so.
off topic with regards to traffic circulation in the entire community versus traffic issues associated with this application. So
Okay. All right, Jamie Murdoch, we're gonna, you're on your last page.
last
Yes.
page. I have two
Okay.
sentences.
So I think you've made your point to your
Yes.
concerns with this project. And the board normally takes a break at 9 o'clock, so we're gonna take a 5-minute recess. And we'll be back in 5 minutes.
I very much appreciate your time.
Thank you.
thank you, Mr. Murdoch.
We'll get started as soon as we get our other two planning board members back. Okay, we have our planning board members back. Looks like the applicant's lawyer is still not with us. There he
Right
is.
here,
All right, thank you. Joe, did you have any response to Mr. Murdoch's summary or?
Actually, no, I just point out two areas that Mr. Murdoch said on numerous occasions he's not qualified as a planner, and he is not familiar with traffic studies. And I just want to, I don't want to go line by line over 16 pages, Mr. Chairman, but this does have DOT approval. And we believe it is consistent with the town of South Kingstown's comprehensive use plan. And I will provide a planning expert at the zoning board. This is only for an advisory opinion this evening. Thank you. That's all I have to say.
Board member comments? Joe? I'm sorry, Paul.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
Paul Jordan.
Right.
I just want to thank Mr. Murdoch for putting so much time and effort into thinking about this. He did raise one point, which, being new to the planning board, I'm sort of asking other members about. But, what was the planning board or previous planning boards thinking about the special management district and what was appropriate there? And also, this point about it being an expansion of the commercial strip. It certainly seems to me that that's exactly what it is. I mean, we can make it look nice. I think they've done a really nice job putting the parking in the back and thinking about the landscaping plan. The architecture, yeah, I think we obviously can't require anything there. I think it could use some work. But the real question is this an expansion of the commercial strip in the area? And is that what was planned for the special management district? And again, the questions that I have are really comments. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I looked at that, and I mean, the special management district does lay out this area as non-residential for other uses. And by laying out and identifying that area, to me, my mind is that it's identify the area where it'll allow this commercial or retail development and controls it to that area to avoid sprawl all along Route 108. But, and I would agree with you on the architecture could be something other than a metal building, but we don't have architectural standards. Maria, you look like you're ready to.
Like yourself and Joe, I do appreciate Mr. Murdoch's efforts and attention to detail. One of the things that we have found as a board is that having a collaborative process usually results in a better design and makes everyone happier in the long run. And as board members know, this area has been the site of a considerable amount of development in recent months. We always have these conversations about cumulative impact, and I think that's valid, but it doesn't necessarily apply to this particular application by itself or any other one. That is something that, as staff knows, I'm always nagging them to, we need to talk about the impact, and particularly since this is a URI corridor, but that's a conversation for another time. We do strive, as Mr. Murdoch mentioned, for the highest standards of development plan review. And I think he is correct in his assessment that this is a special management district. And all of the new construction has been of a higher standard than previous parcels with regard to commercial in general. And some board members will recall, we had Dan's Restaurant come in, which was, even though they're not specifically regulated, we had conversations with them that resulted in a better design, even though it was ultimately not constructed. The same goes for the apartments that we recently approved. Again, having constructive conversations is a good thing. I've already addressed landscaping. I think that signage and architecture is something that could be modified, and certainly Jamie Rabbit, our Director of Planning, is a keen follower of architecture, has a considerable amount of experience with regard to architecture, and often comes up with some very nice ideas for modifications that result in better projects. So I would certainly like to hear from Jamie if he doesn't mind saying so.
Maria, before we bring Jamie in, can we just hear from the rest of the board members, and then we'll let staff? Go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, I had a similar comment. I mean, Mr. Murdoch brought up some excellent points, and certainly was impressed with the example that of McDonald's and Freeport. But maybe not going to that extreme. I'd be interested in ways to soften the appearance and make it more fitting, even if it's the same size building and the same interior of the building. But if there's ways we could soften the outside.
Okay, thank you, Joe. Susan?
Hi, thank you. I would echo what others have said. Thank you, Mr. Murdoch, for an excellent presentation, and you've made some excellent points. I'm hearing his point that we created a special management district because I think we were concerned about an extension of the linear strip that's down 108 right now. And right now, if you drive down Route 108, it's not very nice. And I appreciate his effort in showing us the McDonald's in Massachusetts and the effort that was made by McDonald's to fit into the community. And it does say in our comp plan to prevent the formation of a linear commercial strip in favor of mixed use development that permits limited commercial uses. And if we indeed meant what we said in our comp plan, then, you know, the pedals to the metal, it's time to show that that's indeed what we implied, and those words aren't just words on paper. And this would be an extension of the gas station, the used car lot, and then this retail store is just a commercial linear strip, which we've deliberately said we don't want to see on this Route 108 special management district. And if indeed this retail location, if we approve this, I think that they could put in some effort into making it fit also in our comp plan, our desire to maintain a small town character. This is a main artery through our town, and this will be, I think, a very heavily used business on a commercial strip. And I think Mr. Murdoch's points were very well taken. We need a higher standard of development for this project in our town.
Okay,
Thanks.
thank you. Pam or Peter have a comment? No?
Yeah,
Go ahead, Pam.
sorry. Thank you again for your research and your sharing it. I know that we talked a lot about the last time the traffic issues. And however, I think in the end of the day, we felt that given the evidence that we had and the decisions that we needed to make were acceptable. I mean, so I'm just trying to, because the concerns of the traffic, if somebody could remind me of some of the mitigations that, or some of the some of the information that was provided in that then we decided would be appropriate at this point. So the traffic is, I guess I'm just asking our planning staff or the consulting team to just briefly remind us of the traffic issues, because as he pointed out, some of the studies were done not at the peak time of traffic.
But either way, and Matthew, maybe you can elaborate. This is Rich Brevenet. Maybe you could elaborate a little bit, Matthew, but I thought that the development as it was proposed, based on the square footage, pushed the traffic light at Curtis Corner and 108 to an F during a certain period. Is that correct? Went from a D to an F?
No, it's not. We did do a full-blown traffic impact study that was submitted as part of this application. The conclusion of that was that the minor increase in traffic that would be generated from this retail development would be handled and adequate from the existing roadway. And as everyone, I'm assuming, is aware, they evaluate intersections and roadway adequacy by a term called level of service, which is the delay time it takes to perform a certain movement. There are several charts in our traffic impact study that do detail the level of service. There are slight reductions of 1 to 2 seconds in some of those, but all of them are level A, B, C. I'm just skimming them right now. And no dramatic reductions, nothing from F that I can see, Rich. But if you know otherwise, I'd be happy to relook at it. But yes, it was provided as part of the application, was re-reviewed, and the member from the public, I can't remember his name's presentation, was a reiteration of what we discussed before. But again, this was reviewed by Rhode Island DOT and
approved.
And it complies with the standards of a industry standard in terms of performing a traffic impact analysis. It does not show any negative impacts to the roadway network.
Thank you, Matt. Did you have anything else to add, Rich?
No, then I'm mistaken. I mean, I could have sworn that we went from a D to an F on the, it was 108 South, but.
Rich, it's page 20 on our traffic impact study, if you have it.
Has this been revised as part of this newer application?
It has not. There's no change in square footage. And obviously, as everyone.
So it says May of 2019.
Right. And as everyone is aware, COVID traffic levels have dropped below their normal average. So
then I'm mistaken. I mean, again, we only got this last week, I guess, but so it's a little difficult to kind of keep track of what's been changing, but.
No problem.
All right, Jamie, I didn't mean to interrupt you before, but Jamie Rabbit.
Oh, not at all. Don't worry, Mr. Chairman. I work at the board's pleasure. Just with regards from administrative side, I know the staff handed or sent out a draft motion associated with this application. That motion, in essence, is the framework for discussion, which I think is being undertaken this evening. Given the testimony tonight and some of the issues that the board has brought up, are going to be up my recommendation to continue this to your next regularly scheduled meeting and allow staff to sit down with the applicant and review some of the items that were talked about this evening. Before I would like to do that, I'd like to just, as Maria Mack has mentioned this evening, have a brief discussion on architecture. I know in the preliminary statements made by the applicant's attorney, they're happy to be in South Kingstown, happy to be an applicant, and are working hard to receive favorable approval from the planning board. But with that being said, I'm a little concerned that the architecture that they propose for South Kingstown is less than they have offered other communities. The firm of BKA out of the Boston area is extremely capable, and they have done some nicer buildings, both on the commercial side for retail, as well as specifically for Dollar General. So, you know, I would encourage them to look at their portfolio and listen to what the planning board has stated and conversed and tried to articulate with them with regards to the special management district, and revise their architecture to be more in keeping with the goals and objectives of the town's 2016 comprehensive community plan, as well as some of the other items the community has been discussing with regards to design. I know there is a representative here from BKA. I'm not going to put him on the spot and tell him where he's done general. I'm sure he's aware of where his firm has, as well as Dollar General's representative. And again, it's just concerning when they've done, you know, a better store and they're not offering that to you. And if that's the negotiation aspect, that we're going to give you a C-style store and settle with the A-, you know, I think that's difficult, but I'll stop there. I do have a whole portfolio of Dollar General stores. I've had them for years. I've tracked the development of one of the fastest growing retail entities in the country, along with Dollar Tree and the other dollar type stores. But again, I think there's room for improvement to try and meet and articulate the goals and objectives of the special management district as it relates to landscaping, building style, massing, impervious pavement, you know, buffering. To Maria Mac's point, I think the planning board is getting adverse to arborvitaes as a street tree to try and screen. Now, from my perspective, I'll challenge the architect. Let's not use landscaping to screen a ugly building. Let's build a better building and actually celebrate it and show it off. Again, that to me, that's the challenge of the architect. I don't need a row of arborvitaes to hide an attractive building. I need a row of arborvitaes basically that admits that my building isn't very attractive. And I'm going to help the community so they don't have to see it. I think there are opportunities working with BKA to work on that architecture and articulate some of the goals and objectives, again, of the district.
Jamie, do you have anything in that portfolio to help on the loading dock area?
Again, it's a little bit back of house. You know, there are things that you can do on the landscape perspective. I think one of the goals and objectives that the board has articulated to me is that from a passing vehicle, or in essence, someone from the sidewalk walking by, should have more of a street appearance, whether it's street trees and a split rail fence along the streetscape, but also that loading dock, I shouldn't be able to look into the site and see, in essence, what is a cul-de-sac for a 20-lot subdivision at the back of house, that with some earthen mounding and some moderate 3 to 4 foot high landscaping, you know, we can screen that from the street as well as the abutting property. Again, it's a turning radius and an objective of the applicant to not have to back up a 67-foot tractor trailer. But if you look at the turning radiuses, there's also some opportunity within that turning radius to either do impervious landscaping or impervious material that will also help them with water quality and help them with their stormwater management issues. With regards to the curb cut, I think Rich has made a good point that although it's a 24-foot wide entry aisle that widens out to close to 100 feet, the turning radiuses are in essence, which are for the trailer part of the tractor trailer to in essence cut across. Again, use techniques of street print and other cobblestone type materials to show that you know, it's not part of the sidewalk, it's not meant for the pedestrian to be on, but it's resilient to the impacts of a tractor trailer needing it in order to make that turning radius, but not making it look like 100-foot wide curb cut. To work on the material side to really articulate that it's a narrow 24-foot wide entry, and there are other pavement treatments associated with the turning radiuses. But, you know, I think I've been successful in the past, and I'm sure BL companies that I've worked with before. I haven't worked with Matthew, but, you know, I work with John Mancini on a number of projects, and I know they have the portfolio also and the techniques to better articulate that entrance and not make it so prominent.
Okay, great. Applicant have any final comments to,
I'd like to get a copy of that 17-page report. I saw it tonight for the first time on your screen, and I'd like to get a copy of it so I can be prepared to go refute it point by point as we move forward through this process.
If the applicant could email me.
I think Jamie has
It's
it.
on the town's
I mean,
webpage.
Jay has it.
I have
Yeah.
been emailing your department.
Okay. We will get that to you.
Okay.
Mr. Shikachi, I'll email that to you right now.
And does the town, I'm hearing all about these architectural features, but does the town of South Kingstown have architectural guidelines? Do you have architectural design review? Is it somewhere in writing somewhere?
To the applicant's attorney's point, the town does not have specific design guidelines. They fall within the nomenclature of the special management district, and it's articulated through the vision of that district.
So it's a little bit, it's not easy to find. We have to like go hunt for it, and it's a very subjective type of guideline, I guess. It's not written out anywhere.
Staff can, if the board sees fit, staff can guide you through that process.
Would that be better to be addressed at the zoning board level or come back here to the planning board level?
I think the planning board is attempting to articulate finding that you're consistent with the goals and objectives of the comprehensive plan as well as the special management district.
And the zoning
I would
board is
also
gonna
add-
look at the use. We're
Yeah.
gonna look at the design of the layout of the building. So
Yes,
they pretty
having
much
a-
take our recommendation. I'm sorry.
Right.
Maria.
That's okay. Having a positive, a highly positive recommendation from the planning board with regard to development plan review will make their job easier.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, for the record, my name is Doug Gruner, and I'm with BK Architects, the architect of record. We've heard your comments tonight, and we are going to go back and come back with a softer design for your review the next time.
We appreciate that.
No problem.
I know you've worked with Bill Mulholland.
Yes.
He's our number one fan, Jamie.
Good old friend.
Yeah.
He still owes me a stake at the on Capitol Hill.
I know Mr. Mulholland for 20+ years, so I know what you went through there, but we
Federal Hill, I'm sorry.
share portfolios.
Yep.
So if no one has anything further to add, we'll continue this to March, was it 23rd? 2021.
I'll make that
Would
Would a
motion.
motion be appropriate?
Yes, I'll make that motion.
I was gonna entertain a motion. Maria has made the motion.
I'll
Do I have
second
a
that.
second? I have a second from Pam. Pam, take the roll, please.
Yes, sir. Steve Demasi,
Aye.
Maria Mack,
Aye.
Joe Murphy,
Aye.
Susan Axelrod.
Aye.
Peter DiStefano,
Aye.
Paul Jordan.
Aye.
And Pam Rubinoff. Aye.
The motion passes unanimously. We'll see you on the 23rd. Thank you for your time tonight, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
All right. We have any reports from staff or